Shalom, everyone, and welcome to Wow Equals Words of Wisdom number 46. Get yourself in position to move. Get yourself in position to move. Here, I'm sharing with all of you some pictures of the new location in which my husband and I were able to move my cosmetology school and salon into last month. Hallelujah. And before that could happen, we had to be in a position to move. We have been looking for a new building for my business for about 2 years. And we had another building that we were looking at back in 2019. And it was kind of a turnkey building, and we went to go meet with that real estate agent at the time. And to be quite honest, I wasn't ready. My business wasn't ready. Financially, we weren't ready. And really spiritually, I wasn't ready. Mentally, I wasn't ready, because when you're getting ready to make a move in your life, whether it's going to another job, starting a business, moving to a new location, with your family, whatever the move may be, you have to be ready spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, and financially to make that move. And I couldn't check off any of those boxes back in 2019. Me and my husband at that time weren't on the same page. He was showing me things. My husband was telling me things about that building or about trying to make that move at that time. And at the time, I was just like, I was kind of sad and frustrated and what have you. But he was correct. My husband was correct. He was literally telling me all of the things that, that I didn't have in place at that particular time. And, within myself, I was in my feelings, but at the same time, I knew that he was correct. And a lot of times, when you're in business, you need to make sure that you have somebody in your corner that can be able to say things to you to get you to see the things that you don't see. And I know I could say for myself that sometimes, I can come into situations and really not see everything. And one thing that I, there's a lot of things that I thank the Most High Yah for concerning my husband, but I really do thank Yah for his forward vision. He sees the forest, not just a tree in front of him. He sees the whole forest. And that's what you need as the spiritual head of your household, the leader of your household, the father of your children. You need the head of your household to be able to help you get in position to move. And even though in my flesh, I really didn't like it back then, and I was just kind of like disappointed. When I look back on it now, and even way before we got to now, I had already figured out that it wasn't for me. Because later on down the line, of course, my business had to be shut down. The brick and mortar part of my business had to be shut down last year for about 2 months. And this was after we looked at that building when, this country went into the lockdown. And so then, we were just pretty much in survival mode, just trying to make sure that we can keep the business open. And so just because of that, it turned out to be a really, really good move to just stand pat where I was. And you know, we revisited where the business was and what we were going to do, what our next steps were going to be. Me and my husband talked about it, and he said, just keep on plugging away, keep on, working with the students that you have, keep on, doing your clients, your salon services, and just keep on plugging away, and kind of rebuild your client base, rebuild your student population, because going online with my students and all of the things that was happening, it was just a microcosm of everything that was going on during last year. Very tough, at times very, very stressful, but I learned so much, because when I was trying to go get that other building, I was actually the property manager of the building where my business was being housed at the time. And for those 8 months that I was the property manager, I got to learn about commercial real estate and how it's managed, and dealing with general contractors, and what it takes to not only obtain a piece of commercial real estate, whether you want to buy it or whether you're going to lease it for rent, but also what it takes to maintain it. What things are you going to have to, replace, get fixed? How you deal with general contractors, HVAC and electricians, plumbers, things of that nature, people who do signs. There's all different things that you need to know when you're going to go into a building of your own, whether you buy it or you lease it. And those were things at that time, when I was trying to go get the other building in 2019, that quite frankly, I didn't know a whole lot about, very little about. And so by me being the property manager for about 8 months before I stepped down in February 28th of 2020, it kind of gave me a crash course on what I needed to know before I moved into my own building. And I really thank the Most High Yah for that, because that became part of the process. A lot of times we may try to move and do something in our lives, and we really don't have all of the experience or the tools or the knowledge or the wisdom that we need to make the move that we're getting ready to make. And so the Most High Yah set up the situations and the circumstances that I needed to be able to learn, to grow, develop, and get myself in the position to be able to move. And I'm so grateful for the process, because a lot of times we try to circumvent the process. We just want the product. We just want the end result. We just, want to say, yeah, I got this, or yeah, I made this much money, or yeah, I got this building, or yes, I got, I bought the new house. But it's really, what did you learn while you were on your journey or in the process of getting yourself in position to move? And that was what the Most High Yah really, was molding me and shaping me, and my husband as well, so that we could be on one accord. Because there, like I said, there was just some things that we did not know back in 2019 that we knew in, last month of 2021, that really helped us be able to get in a position to move into the place where we are now. And, after the businesses were allowed to reopen, and we were closed for like 2 months, I went by the first building that I wanted, and it was already taken by somebody else. And I remember just being disappointed and just being upset. And I caught myself in wouldn't even allow myself to ride by the building anymore because I didn't want to take in and mull over the disappointment and being upset, and I didn't want to allow myself to drop into a place of discouragement or sadness or depression over that. I really didn't have time to do that. I had to continue to work on getting myself in position to move. I had to continue to look for other buildings. I had to continue to build my student body from my school, which I'm continuing to do. I had to continue to work on my salon service clientele. I had to continue to work on my professional development, just as an instructor, as an administrator, being that when you own a cosmetology school, essentially you are a principal. And all of the things where I needed to grow and develop and get better. See, you always have a choice. You can either make the intentional decision to get yourself in position to move by looking and seeing where you lack in the different areas of your life, where you know that you are slipping, where you need to get better, where you need to do more. Or you can sit around and be upset about why you're not where you think you ought to be. And so I chose to work on myself, work on my business, work on learning the things that I did not know, whether it's through reading books, whether it's through watching a video, whether it's through taking a continuing education class, what have you. When you're an entrepreneur, you don't really have the time to sit around and be upset and be depressed. That has to be very, very short-lived. And you must have a very, very short memory when it comes to the things that happen to you in the midst of you growing a business. You cannot have a mindset where you're just going to sit there and mope and have a pity party by yourself. You just can't do it, or you'll never move forward. And so I had to learn to fail forward. You have to have a forward moving mindset. And now at the time of my life, when I look back at something, I want to look back at the process. I don't want to look back on something so that it keeps me from moving forward. So now that's my mindset now. When I'm looking back on my life, when I'm reflecting, I'm looking back to see what can I learn from the journey? What can I learn from the journey? What can I learn from the process? What can I keep from that process that's going to help me moving forward? What should I do? What shouldn't I do? What do I need to change? What do I need to tweak? And these are the things that I continue to do. I had to do some things administratively differently than I've done it before, because you can't do the same thing that you did in the past and think you're going to still do that when you get to the next level. No, you have to grow from glory to glory and from faith to faith. And so, we had to learn about what it took to have your own building. I knew what it took to maintain a salon suite. I had 2 of those. I knew what it took to run a salon. I used to manage hair cutteries, okay, in the past. But I didn't know what it took to manage a business by myself or on my own, under my own brand. And that's what I've been learning to do. I knew how to teach because I worked for the public school system, but those are 2 totally different skill sets. And when you're trying to get yourself in a position to move, yes, there's some skill sets that are transferable. You do have transferable skills, But then there's some other skills that you have to learn them. You have to learn them, you have to grow, you have to develop, and you have to get better. I used to say in the past, oh, I hate doing paperwork. I hate doing paperwork. I hate doing paperwork. But now I know that it is a necessary part. Documentation. Paperwork is a necessary part of what I do. It's a necessary part of keeping track of how much money the business is making, how much money I'm spending on expenses, how much money am I spending on product, how much money am I spending on, rent, how much am I spending on utilities, how much money do I want to put towards advertising and marketing, all of these different things. And if you're the type that you're constantly saying, oh, I hate doing paperwork, and I had to change what I said out of my mouth because it was keeping me from getting into a position to move. That's the other thing. Examine what you're saying out of your mouth, because what you're saying out of your mouth could be the very things that's keeping you from getting into a position to move into the next place that the Most High Yah may want to bring you into in your life. Because a lot of times what we say destroys everything. And so I continue to change my language and stop my language from being a stopper in my life. A lot of times what we say out of our mouths can cause us to be halted in our lives, halted spiritually, halted, stopped, grinded to a halt, so to speak, stagnant, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, and financially, because of the fact that we keep saying, negative things out of our mouths about ourselves, about our families, about our businesses. So I had to, in order for me to get myself into a position to move, I had to really drop the negativity. I had to drop any negativity, even if it was small or minute. I had to get it out of my mouth. I had to get it out of my vocabulary. And I had to start saying what I wanted to see happen in my life. And then I had to, put feet to my prayers. I had to put action behind my faith. I couldn't just sit around and do nothing and think, what I wanted was just going to drop out of the sky. It just doesn't happen like that. And I have to say, first and foremost, make sure that you are in the right position spiritually. Matthew 6:33 says, but seek ye first the kingdom of Yahuwah and all of its righteousness, and all of these things will be added unto you. So I had to make sure that I was keeping the Most High Yah first. Before anything that I may desire, I must have him first. My relationship with him must be first above all else. If I think I'm going to move forward in any area of my life, I must make sure that I'm moving forward in my relationship with him. Because if I abide in him and allow his word to abide in me, then I can ask whatsoever I will, and he will give me the desire of my heart, as long as it's in line with his will and his word and his destiny for my life. So when I didn't get that other building, I had to make sure that I did not dwell on that, sulk on that, get mad at the Most High, because if something's not taking place in my life, it's definitely not his fault. Okay? We've got to remember that. It's definitely not his fault. And a lot of times people want to blame Yah. We've got to be careful about that. So I always go back and try to examine myself. Why isn't it happening in my life? And a lot of it was just that I wasn't ready at that time. And when it's Sometimes it's you're not ready spiritually, you're really not going to be able to handle what you want. Okay? And so it's so important that spiritually that you are ready. Spiritually that you are ready, that you're keeping Yah first, and knowing that He is your source. He is your provider. He is the provider. And that anything that you have is what He has allowed you to have and blessed you to have. And so I had to make sure that I kept a grateful heart and mind and attitude in the midst of the process. And I had to learn to be an excellent steward over what He had already blessed me with. And I had to learn how to do things as unto Him. And even when nobody was looking, I had to do my job and run my business with set apart character and integrity. And that is a big part of getting yourself in position to move. Understanding where you are, understanding where you need to grow, understanding your strengths and your non-strengths, and get yourself, if you don't know enough about a particular area, then go ahead, start reading. If you know that you don't have the money to go back to school or whatever, go out there and look for low cost and no cost resources that can help you learn and grow in the area where you need more knowledge, so that you can be able to move forward, and pray and ask the Most High Yah for wisdom. See, wisdom is the correct application of knowledge. A lot of times we're just gaining knowledge, but we don't move and apply that knowledge in the correct way. And that's what wisdom is. Wisdom is the correct application of knowledge. And so I just kept on working on getting myself in the position to move when the opportunity manifested itself. And back in March it did. The real estate agent told us how much it was. It's actually cheaper than what I was paying, in the last building where I was. He said it was probably about 7 people that had inquired about the building, but nothing in writing yet. And so he gave us the marketing package for the building, the information, told us to, fill it all out. And, me and my husband talked about it, talked about the financials, and, we sat down and discussed it to see if we were on one accord this time. And if what they were asking us to do, the information they were asking us for, were we both on the same page about submitting the application for this building. And this time my husband said yes. See, if you're married and you're trying to move forward, you've got to be on one accord. You've got to be on one accord. When he said yes, and he had to fill out information, not just me, he turned that information in that was about his financials, and my husband runs 2 businesses as well. And we turned it in together. And I thank the Most High Yah for my husband. I thank the Most High Yah for giving me favor with my husband. That he was willing to help me spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, and financially with my business. And I am so grateful to the Most High Yah for him, and how the Most High literally funneled resources that I needed for my business through my husband. And I really am putting emphasis on that because, you need support. You absolutely need support. And a lot of times businesses don't last because they lack capital. And my husband, not one time did he, fail to help me when we had to buy all of these extra things, from last March up until now, just to meet, state and city and federal regulations in order for my business to stay open. And so, my husband is my webmaster. He is he designed my websites. He also helps me with admissions. He helps with, fixing things now, especially in the building. He's always there. He is 100% engaged, helping me to get myself in position to move, talking with me, helping me to see, what direction I need to go in, things that I need to do, things that I could change, things that I can do better, suggestions, all of that. And we have that constant communication with one another, and that is really helpful and needed when you're trying to move on to the next level. And I do that with him too, with his businesses. He has a technology consulting business where he builds websites, he maintains them as well, and he hosts them for businesses. And he has a mobile notary business. And so we do that for each other. And we, came to the conclusion that when other people didn't want to do business with us, that we would do business with one another. And so that is what we have been doing. We have been basically lending our own gifts to one another. The things that he is gifted in, he deposits them into my life and into my business. And the things that I am gifted in, I deposit them into his life and into his businesses, so that the support, the cycle of support one for another does not end. And it keeps us in a position to move, so that when the Most High Yah says, here's the opportunity, we can move through the door. And I told my husband, I said, do you think that we can get the building after I turned in all of the information to the real estate agent? He said, we'll see. And it was, kind of some back and forth about the numbers and when we were going to start the lease and things of that nature. But it was really not anything that was hard or, strenuous or anything like that. It was really like the door was open, the door of opportunity that the Most High Yah had opened up for my business and for my family was wide open. And it was up to us to make sure that we recognized that and that we were ready and that we were in a position to move when the Most High Yah had opened up the door for us. And basically, just over a month later, April 15th, we got the keys to the building. We didn't even know how we were going to put in the security deposit, where we were going to get all the money for the 2.5 months worth of rent that we had to put down. But the Most High Yah provided the money that we needed a week before. And last year I was able to get grants for my business. I had never even applied for a grant for my business ever, and I was able to obtain 2 grants last year. And I got turned down for the PPP money last year, but this year I was able to obtain a PPP loan, which was very much needed to be able to funnel capital into my business. And the fact that I didn't have to buy stations and shampoo bowls and shampoo chairs and and things of that nature. And I didn't have to put flooring and all of these things that usually go into a new building. Saved me thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars. And yes, we've had to put out some money to get some things fixed and get things inspected and get things up to code. But compared to the fact of what I would have had to do to build this building to suit a cosmetology school and salon is nothing. The Father knows your circumstances. He knows what you can afford. He knows what you have in your bank accounts, and he knows what he has in what you have in your wallets and in your pocketbooks. And he knew what I needed. He literally brought me into a place that basically was just everything, almost everything that I needed was already there. And where we had to put the most work in was to clean and disinfect it. That was the most where a lot of the work went into. And even the things that we did have to put the money out for, like the sign that you see in the pictures and things of that nature, he blessed us to be able to have the money to pay for the contractors to come in to work on the plumbing, to work on the things that need to be fixed on as far as the electrical work and things of that nature. And whatever things that we can do ourselves, we are actually doing ourselves. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you cannot be afraid of working. Owning your own business does not mean that you don't work. You do work. But I always look at it that I've worked many, many years for other people. Very, very hard and a lot of hours. Now I am working for myself. I am working for myself. My husband is working for himself. And there is nothing like it to own your own business and to get yourself in a position to move, to have options, and to do things the way that you want to do them. And, you know, I come into this building on a daily basis, and I shake my head and I just throw up my hands and praise the Most High Yah for what he has done, for, you know, the money that was needed. Either he provided the money or he made sure that what we needed was already there. Like I said, with the hardwood floors already being there, and the shampoo bowls and the shampoo chairs and the stations and stylish chairs and things of that nature. All of those things were in there. Cabinets and retail shelves and all of these different things that were already needed. We didn't have the money for it. He made sure that it was already there. And so a lot of times we put the Most High Yah in a box. But if you're doing that, you've got to stop doing that. You do your part. You make sure that you keep him first. You make sure that you get yourself that you have the right attitude, that you have the right intentions, that you have the right motives, that you live a set apart life with set apart character and integrity. You run your business that way. You be faithful over the little that you have, because if you are, he'll make you ruler over much. And that's what me and my husband have been learning to do. We have been learning to take care of what we've already have, what the Most High Yah has already blessed us with. We are learning from the mistakes, the things that we did that were wrong, just because we didn't have enough knowledge. And so that's why we, messed up or made the mistake. And then we can look back now and say, we're not going to do that again. We don't go that direction now. We don't do this that way. We don't buy these things. We don't connect ourselves to these people, or we don't associate ourselves with this, because that affects our business or our businesses in the wrong way. We learn how to support one another. We learn how to be flexible with one another. We learned about scheduling and time management. All of these different things to bring us to where we are now. of course, the money management, the time management, the money management, when in your business is huge. And learn how to reinvest the funds back into your business. And, we had to learn how to move from that employee mindset to an entrepreneurial mindset, which is two different things. Employees think differently than owners of businesses. And so that was something that I really had to work on, because I had been an employee my whole, working life. And there's nothing wrong with being an employee if you're working within your own business. I encourage you, if you have the opportunity to get yourself into a position to move into business ownership, do so. Don't keep putting it off. I was 50 years old when I started my business, and I was still working at my regular job as a teacher. And I started doing things to get myself into a position to move and transition away from my teaching position. And I retired from that teaching position because I was able to get myself into a position to move. Don't wait until there's an emergency and then you try to move under stress and under duress. Do it while you have the opportunity to plan, to prepare, to pray, to get instruction from the Most High Yah, to get direction from Him, so that He can order your steps and so that you can make the right moves while there's still time. See, when you try to move under duress and under stress and under panic, things don't work out well. You make bad decisions. You make a lot of mistakes. You make a lot of errors. And so with everything that is happening, in this world right now, we need to make sure that we're getting ourselves into a position to move. Are you in the position to move spiritually from the level where you are now to the next level in your relationship with Yah? Are you getting yourself in a position to move to the next level in your marriage? Into the next position with your family as a whole, with your business, with your job. There's a lot of people that want to transition away from their jobs. But are you doing what it takes to get yourself in a position to move? I left my job in 2018. And, my husband supported me in that decision to retire from that position because of the stress that I was under. And everything that I would go through every time I went to that job. But he also was working and getting himself into a position to move because he also wanted to transition away from the full-time job that he was working as well. And we communicated with one another. We talked with one another. He told me about when he was going to get into being a notary and the training that he was taking and how much money he was making and the progress he was making. And when he wanted a target date of when he wanted to actually transition away from the job. And when that time came, which was last November of 2020, me and him both were on one accord. And I had no problem with him leaving and transitioning into full-time entrepreneurship. And he is doing fantastic. He is doing fantastic. But he did what it took to get himself into a position to move forward He got himself into a position where he had options and he didn't feel bound to stay at that job. And that was something that my husband taught me. He taught me, you got to be ready to move. He taught me not only with his words, but with his actions, and how he handled his businesses, and how he handled, even when he moved from one job position to another. And so everything hasn't been perfect for us. But during every test and every trial and every tribulation and every challenge, we chose to learn and grow and develop and get better and fail forward. And every time we chose to do that, we got ourselves in a position to move to the next level, to the next place, and in this particular case, into a bigger building so that I can continue to grow my business and expand. So think about that. Think about where you are in your life. Think about what you're doing in your life, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, and financially, to get yourself into a position to move. Are you stagnant? Are you going backwards? Is there a lot of confusion in your life? Have you been saying that you're trying to make a move? You maybe to open a business, maybe to move your family or it could just be that you want to grow in your relationship with Yah, or you have a business and you want it to grow and it's been stagnant or it's been going in the opposite direction. You want your marriage to move forward. But what are you doing as a husband or as a wife to make sure that it moves forward under the direction of the Most High Yah? So, it's that saying that bodies in motion always stay in motion. And so a lot of times we're like, I want to move forward, but we're not doing anything to make that happen. So, get yourself into a position to move. Pray and ask the Most High Yah what you need to do. What you need to do, what you need to start doing, what you need to stop doing, who you need to associate with, who you need to stop associating with, what habits you need to get rid of, what habits you need to develop, what plan you need to put in place. And when you are making moves and the Most High Yah is moving you forward, there's some times there's some things that you have to lay aside in order to move forward in Him, in order to get yourself in position to move forward. You can't move forward in a car if you're standing outside the car. Okay? If you're standing outside of the car, you're not in the position to move forward with the car. Okay? Or you could even be inside the car, but then you still have the car set in neutral or in reverse. You're not going to be able to put yourself in a position to move forward. So if that's your mindset, I want to move forward, and you just say, I want to move forward, I want to do this, or I want to do that, but you're not getting yourself in position to move, then that becomes a problem. Are you holding yourself back by what you're saying? About yourself, about your marriage, about your business, about, your children, about your family, about whatever. You may need to get a new group of friends, because are they keeping you from putting yourself in a position to move? Are your associations keeping you from moving forward? So, once again, I praise the Most High Yah for what He has done on my behalf for my business, Sharpen Your Skills, Continuing Education and Salon LLC. I am so grateful to him. I am so grateful to Yah, for he continues to amaze me. He continues to blow my mind with how he provides and how he funnels resources into my life. And I continue to take the lid off when it comes to him. I don't, and I try not to put him in a box, because the earth is Yahuwah's and the fullness thereof, and all they that dwell therein. Okay? He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. And I have never, I was young, but now I am old. And I have never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. That's what the scripture says. And so the Most High Yah, Yahuwah, has a track record with me. And I thank Yah that every time he shows his mercy and his grace, and that he chooses to amaze me and, like I say, blow my mind with how he orchestrates, what he manifests in my life. I'm so grateful that he shows me mercy to sustain me during those times of getting myself in that position to move into the blessings, the doors, the opportunities, the connections, the avenues that he is blessing me with and manifesting in my life to take me to the next level in my life. So thank you for joining me for WOW equals Words of Wisdom number 46. Get yourself in position to move. And I pray that you have a positive, powerful, and productive day. Shalom.